Live from our 7 Tasmania studios, your nightly news with Kim Miller begins now.
Good evening. First to Tasmania's biggest cocaine bust. Millions of dollars worth of coke and methamphetamine have been seized in the state's northwest. 2 men accused of smuggling the drugs face court today, as police warn anyone thinking of following suit should think twice.
It's worth $4.6 million, the result of a targeted policing operation.
The drugs equate to around 4,000 individual deals of cocaine and around 30,000 individual deals of methamphetamine.
Police say 2 Tasmanian men travelled from Victoria to Rocky Point last Thursday via boat, allegedly on board with a very expensive passenger. The vessel, a vehicle, trailer and pistol, also seized by police.
It has a approximate value of $250,000.
Police adamant the haul will go a long way in reducing harm on our streets, with very little of the product produced in Tasmania.
So most of these drugs come into the state through various methods, and whether that be in the mail, whether that be in boats such as this.
Authorities are now turning their attention to anyone planning on selling dangerous drugs this festive season. Police saying they will be targeted and caught.
We are very committed to preventing the importation and distribution of illicit drugs in Tasmania, and we have dedicated teams of investigators across the state who investigate these types of matters.
A 40-year-old Swansea man was remanded in custody to reappear in Devonport Court on January 25, while a 34-year-old Elderslie man was granted bail to reappear on the same date. Ruby Cairns, 7 Tasmania News.
Students from Devonport High School were sent home early today due to flooding. The region copping 15 mil of rain this afternoon along with thunderstorms. Launceston and Hobart also in the firing line. Authorities forecasting more thunderstorms tonight. The SES is warning of flash flooding in some parts later on, urging residents to make sure properties are prepared, while police are urging motorists to slow down when driving in wet conditions. Weather presenter Peter Murphy will be along later with the full forecast. Kingborough Council is throwing its hat in the ring, announcing its proposal for an AFL High Performance Centre at the Twin Ovals in Kingston.
We believe that we are the only location for this where the facility can be built on time and on budget.
Local football and cricket clubs back the move, saying it would help make the area an elite sporting hub.
The Jacknubbers actually train on one of the ovals a bit as well as obviously the sports centre, and I think that's one of the things that links in here with this community is that it does become a high performance sports arena.
Kingborough now going up against Clarence City Council, which has also offered a location for the centre to be built. The fallout from a chaotic day in State Parliament has continued after the government abandoned attempts to suspend a Supreme Court justice, despite recalling MPs to do so. The advice the Attorney-General acted on has been questioned, so too a premature end to last night's sitting.
After a farcical final sitting day, it's unclear if any lessons were learnt.
If you had your time again as a government, you'd handle this all exactly the same.
Oh, look, we've acted on expert legal advice.
If the government say that they've learnt nothing about the utter chaos that has been the last week, then I think that demonstrates how arrogant they've become.
After recalling Parliament, the Attorney-General dropped his plans to suspend Supreme Court Justice Gregory G, who's pled not guilty to emotional abuse and assault charges. A written undertaking he'll stay sidelined until court proceedings are complete has been deemed enough. Guy Barnett maintains a suspension would be valid, despite concerns from the legal fraternity. The self-inflicted saga, raising questions about the Solicitor General, her advice and the Attorney-General's handling.
He did not have written advice when he recalled Parliament. He did not have written advice when he went to the Governor.
We've acted on advice. Our Attorney-General has acted prudently on advice. The thing that did change was the undertaking.
The government chose to end the parliamentary sitting day before question time, a debate on the Commission of Inquiry response and a condolence motion for former MP Fran Bladel.
Well, we should have been doing that late morning. The Labor Party continued to move stunt after stunt after stunt to do everything they could to not allow us to get onto those items of business.
It was such a chaotic mess yesterday that the government was in a hurry to get out of that house.
After defections, defeats and daily body blows in Parliament for the government this year, coming back in 3 months' time doesn't seem much fun either. Josh Duggan, 7 Tasmania News.
Tasmania's winter tourism industry is looking bleak, with 3 major events wiped from our calendar. Willie Smith's confirming when its Burning Man goes up in flames next year, so too will the festival's future.
Lighting up a cold and quiet season, Willie Smith's popular pagan festival is almost out of fuel.
It's with a heavy heart that we sort of announced that this is going to be our last Huon Valley Midwinter Fest.
COVID and Tasmania's unpredictable climate dampening the fun.
Post-COVID, for us, the event has become quite a smaller event. We've contained it to about 2,000 people per day, and we probably won't exceed that too much this year.
But organisers might be surprised by the turnout, with Targa and Dark Mofo calling off their events in 2024.
I think having all these events cancelled is a reflection simply of the economy. Things are tightening up. It's tough out there.
Dark Mofo was on a 12-month pause that they asked for. They said that there was no amount of funding that the government could have provided next year for them to go ahead with it.
Tourism Tasmania now preparing to supercharge its off-season campaign.
I think there'll be impact next year from an economic standpoint when it comes to domestic tourism, but we're absolutely doing everything we can to ensure that we mitigate that risk.
Other businesses encouraged to grip the golden opportunity with both hands.
Gaps in events do create new opportunities for further investment, so we'll also be working with new inquiries as they come through as well to support them.
Brianna Boylan, 7 Tasmania News.
A man rescued after a freak accident on one of the Bass Strait Islands has reunited with the team that airlifted him to hospital. Myron Tarnowski taking the time to say thank you to those who made a difficult journey as comfortable as it could be given the circumstances.
Far from a landlubber, Myron Tarnowski loves sailing. In February, he and his son set off on a dream trip around Bass Strait. However, plans for smooth sailing were shipwrecked following a repair job on Deal Island.
Taking the tools back, I sadly had an unfortunate accident where I fell over.
The injuries horrific and painful. Myron breaking bones in both arms. Hundreds of kilometres away from the nearest hospital. Getting the right care seemed a long way away. Enter Tasmania's air medical team, who travelled from Hobart to retrieve him.
They patched me up sufficiently enough to get on the helicopter and bring me back to Launceston.
Obviously in a fair bit of pain, and it was good that our flight paramedic could get to him nice and quickly and provide the appropriate medical care.
Fully recovered, Myron was finally able to show his gratitude, reunited with his rescuers.
They've got no idea after how they recover or what eventuates, so just like to meet them, shake their hand, show them the arms.
Myron's a super likeable guy. He's an adventurous older person, he's a sailor, and it's a real privilege to be able to hear from these patients.
Myron is one of hundreds given wings by our air medical teams each year in often challenging and stressful situations. Yet patients and staff don't always meet afterwards, making reunions like this extra special.
And one of the nice parts of the job is being thanked by the folks that you provide a service for.
Put their lives at risk in flying over the waters and so forth, and I think that we really need to show our gratitude.
Fighting fit again, he's aiming to set sail on some unfinished business.
Well, hopefully we'll get back to Deal Island and the top end of Flinders again.
John Hunt, 7 Tasmania News.
Public consultation is now open on a bill banning conversion therapies. Attorney General Guy Barnett released the long-awaited draft today after concerns from advocates about harm caused by the practice. Equality Tasmania's Rodney Croom has slammed the bill, saying the legislation does not go far enough and will allow the practice to continue. Tasmania's energy market has a new player, with a leading gas retailer expanding its business. TasGas, rebranding as Solstice, will now be selling electricity to households and businesses from early next year.
The energy market's changing and we're changing with it. Our intention is to become a diversified energy business, and this is our first step.
Our focus is to continue to give great service to our customers in Tasmania and offer new products and services that engage with the modern Tasmanian.
State-owned Aurora Energy holds more than 90% of market share. Local tourism operators are gearing up for what's tipped to be one of the state's busiest summer holiday periods in recent years. It's as one major airport unveils the next stage of its upgrades, just in time to welcome the passenger influx.
The first passengers making their way through Launceston Airport's new-look security screens.
This is the most advanced security screening equipment in the country today.
The latest additions to the terminal are promising to boost passenger safety and reduce time stuck in the dreaded security line.
The main difference here is that you don't have to take a whole lot of stuff out of your bags. You just plonk the bag on the tray, it goes through.
Critical infrastructure delivering for Tasmanians and making life easier.
Today's gateway to the departure lounge is a far cry from the airport welcome of yesteryear, as operators put in the hard yards to meet the demands of a growing flight schedule.
Helping us to celebrate the last 4 months of all-time record passenger numbers.
We see a very rosy future for Launceston Airport, not just because we're seeing record numbers of travellers enjoying Launceston Airport, but the future.
A festive future looking merry and bright, with the boarding cards packed for a bumper holiday period ahead.
We were expecting some days this summer of over 6,000 travellers coming through the terminal, and up to about 130 or 140,000 passengers a month over that summer.
Heating up for a tourism takeoff. Victoria Easto, 7 Tasmania News.
A new Virgin cruise ship has berthed in Tasmanian waters as part of its first voyage down under. Owned by billionaire Sir Richard Branson, the Resilient Lady is for adults only, arriving in Hobart from its Melbourne home port this morning. More than 2,500 people are on board, but it won't be in the capital long. The ship setting sail tomorrow for Burnie. The Canungi Mountain Run is going from strength to strength, selected to join a new Golden Trail National Series. It's a chance for Australia's elite runners to compete and secure invitations to the Golden Trail World Series in Europe next year.
They came down and checked us out and actually went for a run this year, and we didn't need to apply or anything like that. They hand-picked it.
Victoria, New South Wales and Queensland will also feature in the series. Tasmania's employment market appears to be slowing, with the latest SEEK report showing a drop in job ads. The state recording a 3% slump in November, with only Victoria and New South Wales faring worse. Despite the fall, the state is still marginally better off compared to the same time last year. Every industry recorded a decline in advertised positions except for the insurance and superannuation sectors. Men in the northwest facing homelessness now have somewhere to go. A new 7-unit crisis accommodation shelter opening in Devonport for single men and their children.
Brand new and ready for its first tenants, Marram Place is a crisis accommodation shelter for men with nowhere else to turn.
This is the first of its kind for the Northwest Coast. It's something that was identified as a priority 3 or 4 years ago, and it's terrific to see that it's finally been delivered.
The $2.5 million build has been designed to be home-like. Each unit has a TV and private bathroom. The common area has a full kitchen, laundry, patio and gym. There's also a 4-bedroom apartment designed to house a father and his children. Such is the need in Devonport at the moment that there's already a family waiting to move in. But the shelter is strictly temporary. Those who come here will get help to find a permanent home, which these days is easier said than done.
It's certainly a challenge, but we do have established networks. It's not to say it's easy, but certainly through the support that they'll receive here, long-term options are achievable.
New data shows 340 Tasmanians per day on average were able to access crisis accommodation last financial year, a 10% improvement on the previous year. But the number of people needing support to avoid homelessness is still higher than the national average.
Homes Tasmania delivered around 700 plus homes alone in the last financial year, so that's a significant record for us.
Nick Kelly, 7 Tasmania News. 14 of the world's top 50 female tennis players will tune up for the Australian Open at the Hobart International. Organisers releasing the full field with two-time champion and crowd favourite Elise Mertens returning. World number 34 Marie Buzakova is also back, with last year's runner-up Elisabetta Cocciarito looking to go one better in 2024. Reigning champion Lauren Davis has pulled out and won't be defending her title.
She's sustained a shoulder injury. She really loves coming back to Hobart and can see herself coming back year after year. So we look forward to seeing her in our 30th edition of the Hobart International in 2025.
A number of Australian wildcards will be confirmed at a later date. Tasmania's WNCL coach is full of praise for her team's performance in their first game back after the WBBL break. The reigning premiers thrashing South Australia by 112 runs at Launceston Arena, thanks largely to Molly Strano ripping through the Scorpions' middle order, claiming 5 for 30 and a classic catch. The Tigers eventually bowling out the visitors for just 162.
In 50 over cricket when you're straight out of T20, but yeah, the girls did it really well, transitioned well.
Make sure that we got together, everyone was on the same page moving forward. So yeah, it was really nice to start that off with a win.
The sides will meet again tomorrow at Launceston Arena.
Good evening. Hobart and Launceston 27 degrees today, Devonport 24 and Burnie 21. Campania and Grove reported our high of 31. Bushy Park hit 30. Flinders Island 26. King Island and Friendly Beaches 25. Lyawini 24. St Helens 23 and Strawn 22. The day in two halves really, a bit humid to start it off. Then the rainfall came from this cloud pattern today, mostly this afternoon. Lowerhead had 20 millimetres and Wynyard 18 millimetres to 4 p.m. as a few thunderstorms swept past. Now all that cloud over our region spreads over Victoria and South Australia. Thunderstorm activity is through the Northern Territory and inland New South Wales and Queensland. Jasper, of course, over the coast further north. Tomorrow, a high moves over the Tasman Sea with a low to our south. A trough and oncoming cold front has us in their path as well. What remains of the cyclone will sit over Cape York. The strong northwesterlies will reach 35 knots over the south, but they will tend west-southwesterly at 20 to 30 knots from mid-afternoon. Swells getting up to 3 metres. A gale warning has been issued between Tasman Island and South East Cape, a strong wind warning from Wineglass Bay to Tasman Island and from South East Cape all the way around to St Helens Point. Forecast for Hobart, a shower or two and 23, same for Cygnet, 23 also for New Norfolk. Launceston, a top tomorrow of 24 with a shower for Devonport, 23, 25 for Campbelltown, 60% chance of rain. Burnie, a shower or two, 20 the top, 19 for Strawn. Smithton, a high of 21 degrees. St Helens, 25, Swansea, 26 and Fingal, 24, all with a spattering of a shower or two. On Friday, showers again, but not much over the central north or northeast. Showers on Saturday, contracting to the west in the afternoon, and partly cloudy on Sunday, but still the chance of a shower over the west. Sunny in Perth, 22 and a shower for Adelaide, partly cloudy for Melbourne, 37 in Sydney tomorrow, that's with a possible storm thrown in, 33 and sunny in Brisbane, heavy rain and strong winds for Cairns, and as we saw earlier in the news, up to 500 millimetres of rain expected in the next 24 hours. So for comparison, the average rainfall for Hobart is 595 millimetres, and that's for an entire year, so it's going to dump on Cairns overnight and tomorrow. We'll just have a little shower or two tomorrow, but right now it's cloudy in Hobart, cloudy in Launceston, cloudy in Devonport. Bit of rain on the way in, but not as much as North Queensland.
Certainly isn't. Thank you very much, Murph. And that is all we have time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Good night, everyone.